Hello everyone, I'm here with Kevin Kleinmann again.
Hello.
You were a guest on my channel already a year ago and our video was that successful that we thought we have to do another one. If I go on ChatGPT and I just type in your name, I have a long list of achievements. I will just highlight a few. You were Vice President of Polygram. You worked with some of the greatest artists including Bernstein and Horowitz, for example. And you are also a great advisor in the classical music world. Last time we spoke a lot about how to build a career as a musician. Today I would like to go more into the internal part of being a musician, but also being a human being in general in our world today, because many things are changing. We already highlighted a few things last time. Did I forget anything in the introduction?
No, not really at all. I mean, I'm very happy to be back again. I'm very happy. I feel also, because you didn't mention I've been teaching for so long, in addition to having worked for my whole life, professional life, in the recording industry. I also started nearly 30 years ago teaching in university at the Sorbonne University in Paris, where I taught 27 years, arts management, cultural policy. I taught also at Sibelius Academy in Helsinki, the Music Academy, the National Music Academy in Tallinn, Estonia, focusing on the music industry or the music business. And I think it's very good what you just said, that we should focus now and talk about the human side, because the human side is actually what affects so many people's careers. And if you don't understand what is going on in our societies today, it's very difficult then to position yourself and to promote yourself and to create a successful career. And also just to adjust and adapt to all the problems that we have.
So if I have a musician, if I look at a musician nowadays, very typical problem will be we have so many different opinions. Mm-hmm. We have also different ways of evaluating the quality of someone, and it's much more difficult to judge than years ago, especially for the normal concert goer or the general public. So if they look at, okay, who won a competition, how many followers do they have on social media, what do the critics say? There are so many different opinions anymore and no gatekeepers, as you said, just in preparation to this talk.
Absolutely.
And a person might just get frustrated. Okay, well,
yeah. Who
Who do I want to play for? What do I do? Mm-hmm. What would your advice be for them to deal with that internal insecurity?
I think you summarize very well what the problem is. Actually, in the last talk we did, I spoke at length actually about what difficult times we're living in. That was the last talk we did was April 2023, so it's actually a little over a year. And in that period, I'm not a pessimist by nature. I'm actually a very optimistic person, but I'm realistic. The situation, I think, has gotten much worse in the world. And it doesn't matter whether you're a musician, whether you're a writer, whether you're a mathematician, whether you're a teacher, whatever we are, the world is the transformation that we're living now is at such a speed that it's very hard for people to adjust. It's always been that way. So I'm not trying to make it sound like something we live today is so different than the past, but the cycles move much faster now. Since 2020, the world situation has gotten more tense. I don't have to go into all the details what has happened. But I'm going to speak today about something which I didn't speak about last time, which many maybe agree or they disagree. But I would say one of the biggest problems that you just alluded in your question, you were saying, who are the gatekeepers today? How do we decide who is good, who is not good? If I just speak of my generation, we had gatekeepers because we didn't have social media when I was a teenager, and I was very interested in music from a very early age. How did I learn to discover that Arthur Rubinstein or Horowitz or whatever pianist was the choice and not some other? Because there were people who were qualified to make that judgment. I might not agree with their taste, but they had some qualification. They had a qualification. They understood music. They had studied music. They had the ability to write about it. Much like a journalist today, we trust, if they're going to report the news, that they're telling you some facts about something. There we've also lost a bit of it. But in the arts world, we've lost it completely. And we're also losing it in the media too, because if I look, so many young people today get their news only from TikTok. And so many young people and even older people today get their choice and make their opinions about classical music and all music based on TikTok. So the gatekeepers have become anyone. We've lost all those people who we could trust for learning. So now it becomes very difficult for a musician because indeed the so-called mainstream conservative press of the past, let's say Gramophone magazine, BBC Music magazine, all these sort of publications, today they exist, but they're still a minority compared to how many people watch and learn about classical music from a TikTok video. And who's making that TikTok video? We don't know. It could be a very competent person saying that pianist or violinist X or Y is the best in the world, but we've moved from making our judgments from a qualitative judgment based on quality to a quantitative judgment, meaning because pianist X has 5 million followers or pianist Y has 3 million followers, well, they must be greater than pianist Z, who only has 60,000 followers. And that's total nonsense, but that's the reality we're facing today. So how do you deal with it? So social media has been a blessing and a curse. It has allowed people to communicate to a wider audience, but it has also created a dumbing down because with social media, we've removed the former gatekeepers who we trusted, we entrusted to give us information about the qualitative argument. Why is that a great recording? Why is that a great pianist, a great violinist, a great conductor? We've lost that. And now it's diluted in an ocean of literally millions of people saying that's the best one. Why? Well, simply because that one has 5 million hits. But that one may have 5 million hits simply because they do certain things, whether they play in a shopping mall or they stage events to happen. That doesn't mean they're the greatest pianist or greatest violinist. So the whole perception of what is greatness has changed. And that doesn't only deal with music, it deals with a lot of things. It deals with so many things, whether it's literature, whether it's art, whether it's cinema, whether it's even in politics. It's just the more popular you are, the more you're then thought to be the best in what you do. But that's not true. So how does an artist who has invested 20, 30 years of their life with hard work, practice, honing their skills, paying a lot of money to go to the best teachers, the best schools, and then they come out in the world and they try to communicate, which they should, through a modern channel, which is social media, only to find that they only end up with 5,000 followers, and a person who really is not very good and is amateurish may have 3 million followers. Thereby the public will say, well, they must be better because we've moved in the world from qualitative judgment to quantitative judgment. And this is the biggest obstacle. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer to say this is what you should do. But what I will say is everyone out there listening, think about it. Just think about it. And think how dangerous that is. Not just for music, but it's dangerous for everything we deal with. And I'm not going to mention names, but just look at the political arena. Without mentioning names, look how many populist leaders have come to power. And then think back. If you don't know them, then read about them. Look at Germany. Think of Konrad Adenauer. Think of Helmut Schmidt. Think of Willy Brandt. Think of these great leaders. Think in the United States, Franklin Roosevelt, John Kennedy's, all these people. And now look where we are today. And a lot of that has to do with judgment, which is not based on quality, but based on quantity. So the more populist I can be, the more people I can get likes and thumbs up from, means I'm a better politician. I'm a better musician. Well, that means we've changed the whole paradigm of how you judge a great artist, and that is very dangerous. As I said in the last talk, this situation, music, is just a microcosm of a much bigger world. So if you want to understand the big world, just look at what you know best. And we see what happens in the music world. So we can easier to understand what's happening in the political world, what's happening in all the areas that surround us. Music is not a world of its own. It's just part of a bigger ecosystem. And if that ecosystem has changed its rules of judgment, of quality, and so forth, well, then music is going to be affected. So this throws things into a terrible, chaotic situation. And I think this is the biggest issue that's going to face not just musicians, but any person who wants to be sincere and really has talent, because their talent no longer can even be respected.
Okay, so we have basically a no answer from you.
A statement.
A statement.
Yeah.
I've known you for many years, and one thing that I've also learned from you is to always turn a negative into a positive. So my question would be, how can we turn this negative that we have how have you said it? No gatekeepers, no clear judgment of quality, of talent. How can we turn that into a positive and maybe use the tools we have, especially for people who are talented, to bring that talent to fruition?
Yeah. It's a very good question. And as you rightly said, I don't have an answer, but I have theories and ideas. I think the first answer is everyone should be aware of what's going on and not be blind to the reality that is affecting us and actually making people very unhappy. Because most people I know, most musicians I know are very frustrated. And it's obvious the easiest solution is, if I may use the expression, you can sell yourself to the devil and make a Faustian pact and say, oh, I'll just do the same thing. I'll just jump into this world and I'll align myself with all the charlatans and fakes out there, and maybe I'll be recognized, but you won't be, because the perception is what people know. And if we live in a society where the perception is you are great because you have more likes or more clicks or whatever it is, then it's very difficult to convince with quality. So it needs that the people who have the quality, who are not charlatans, come together as a force, and they create either their own channel, which is real truth or whatever you want to call it, and they speak. And they say what they think. They say what I'm saying. They say it both verbally and in their playing. Because then people will start to understand, okay, there's something here going on. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Because the negative side of social media is that it's populist. And as soon as you get into populism, you get always to the lowest common denominator. So if we all go down and keep lowering our standards down to the lowest common denominator, it affects everyone. The thing is to resist it. Because by resisting it, you're not only helping yourself, your profession, you're not only helping the music business, you're helping civilization and our world.
If I may add something to that, I think the dilemma is that social media is based on our instincts and on our emotions. So the feed, no matter if it's TikTok or Google or Facebook, Meta, Instagram, all of these platforms, is also an auction always. And always the post wins that gets the most attention. So if people stop with their thumb, if they interact with it, they comment with it, it will be seen as relevant for the platform. So they show it to more users with that same interest. So users stay on the platform longer because they're emotionally attached to it, which means they can make more money with ads, etc. So that means that anything that triggers an emotion, be it a more positive emotion or a negative emotion or any kind of emotion, and it has to be very quick, it has to happen within 1 second or 2 seconds, will stay there and will come. And if you have something like art or music, that's not something that can be delivered in 2 seconds. It's something that needs attention over a longer time, half an hour, at least if you go to a concert, and really in-depth practice of attention, that you go in there and really go in your own soul and really feel inside. And it's really an opposite world, basically. So how do we deal with these two sides, which are completely opposite?
You raised the crux, the center point of the problem is that. Because actually, if we look at all the tools that social media and similar related things use, they've created a binary world. If you just look at all the apps that people use for meeting and for dating, whether Tinder, whatever it may be, it's swipe left or swipe right, good or bad. Look at all the videos, thumbs up, thumbs down. There's nothing in between. There are no shades of gray. So it's either yes or no, like, don't like. Well, that's so simplistic, but that's also populist. And classical music, as you just said, is so nuanced that it's contradictory to that whole process. Plus, this system and what has come out of it has caused the human being, the attention span is very short. And the pieces that you see on a TikTok video of so-called classical musicians could be 30 seconds, less. And if you don't catch them in 30 seconds, forget it. Yet a piece of good classical music could last 45 minutes, 1 hour. If it's a symphony, a sonata could be 25 minutes. You're never going to get, because the brain has been conditioned to switch off. If I'm not impressed and I can't swipe left or right, thumbs up, thumbs down within 10 seconds, you're finished. So the very nature of the classical music is already opposed to that. Answer, what do we do? Well, I think you can't play that game. That would be my first thing. I know it's hard, but you can play the game, and you have to create an alternative channel which exposes the other for what it is. So in other words, create something where people are encouraged to spend time. We're not going to give you a decision. You're not going to like us in 10 seconds. It's not going to happen. It's like putting, a round peg into a square hole. It's not going to fit. So no matter what we say, it's never going to work, because the essence of the product or of the music is contradictory to the very nature of what the system is imposing. So either you use the system, destroy yourself and destroy the music in the process, or you create an alternative system within the system, which people then you attract by using verbal arguments like treat your brain well, train yourself, train your mind to concentrate. Because if the whole world continues like this, I'm sorry, it's not very optimistic. If the whole world continues, I'm just not talking music. Music again is a microcosm of a bigger picture. But if the whole world just focuses on, I make my decision left, right, it's all binary, and there's no shades of gray, well then you're going to end up with political leaders who are populist and who are extreme left or extreme right, and very little in between, so there's no shades of gray. And that's where we're heading. We're already there. So why would the music business be any different? Because the music business and music is part of that world. So I think first we have to address the bigger picture if we're going to change that, but we can't. It's very difficult. So what can we do in the music world? I would say, my suggestion would be, it takes a lot of effort, but to ally yourselves, unite together with fellow musicians who are of quality, who feel the same thing, and they have to feel the same thing. I don't think any super talented, gifted musician today can be comfortable appearing on the same channel as people who play in a supermarket and have 5 million hits. They won't. They may be doing it, but they're doing it with desperation, maybe. So I would say band together, create an alliance of like-minded, equally talented people, and create a parallel channel which is exactly the opposite of what the others are doing, so that you stand out and people will see you through that same social media, but not in the way of binary left, right, and I'm going to convince you in 10 seconds or forget it. I think there's no other choice. But if we really want to change things, then we have to change things at the top of our world. And that's a much bigger process. And we're faced with that every day. And I'm not going to get into those discussions, but that is it's an existential situation for human beings. Because you have politicians today in the world who are saying to their population, climate change doesn't exist. It's a fallacy. And people are applauding that, and we're gonna drill for more oil and more fossil fuels. So it's this mentality again is false. It's fake. It's a narrative that's fake, and their opponents are never. Their attitudes to their opponents are also swipe left or right. You're either up or you're down. You're with me or you're against me. You're the friend or you're the enemy. And if you create a world which is so simplistic, certainly classical music and all art and all human expression has no place in a world of such extremism. It just doesn't work.
You have also touched an important point. This takes practice to focus on for a longer time and to go into this silence and all this that is needed for music. And I believe always, and that's also why I do what I do, is that this practice is lost on many levels in the society. So for example, also learning an instrument is also a very good tool to learn that, to later also be appreciative of what you see around you and to listen to that.
That's true.
So to first catch an attention in some way, but motivate people and pay attention to the the process and to really practice things diligently over a long period of time. I think this is what is missing, and also missing in schools on many levels.
Well, if I just think back to my childhood, we were trained also to write. And in order to write, we had to read. And we had to read X number of books every month, and then had to write essays, long essays, which were judged for language skills, vocabulary, ideas, development of ideas. If that doesn't happen anymore, and everything is a soundbite, and you're convincing people of your intelligence just by sound bites, well, then you're also reducing everything to this level. It's the same. So again, people should understand, music is only a microcosm. The whole world is affected. So how do we solve the problem? First, I would say to people, identify the problem. Accept that this is a problem. That's the key, number one. Try from your perspective, wherever you live in the world, to make change. It's not easy. At the top, how we're governed, how we're educated. The education system has a big role to play. If children are not taught from an early age critical thinking, time, that they have patience, time to read a book, time to listen to music that is more than 30 seconds and like it or not like it, time to make judgment, time just to be silent, to listen to birds, respect nature, all those things, which we're not doing, we're doomed. We're doomed. And I don't like to say that because it's very negative. And I'm not negative as a person. I'm very realistic. And I've reached the point now where I believe I see, I don't want to say that I have all the answers, but I believe I see clearly what is going on in this world right now. And music being so close to my heart is something I've done my whole life. And working with musicians. And I see so many of my friends, great friends, very talented friends. It's not easy for all of them. None of them. I don't know one who's saying that it's an easy situation right now. And that hurts me a lot. And I just want to say to them and all of you who watch, who either are musicians, or who have friends who are musicians, or just music lovers, or just human beings, which is most important first, is think about what the problem is, and think about it, that the music business and music is only a small part of a bigger picture. Start at the top, trying to change that bigger picture, and if you can, within the areas where you're strongest and most qualified, music, try to use social media, use these tools, but try to create parallel worlds together. You can't do it alone. As a group, and make your statement why you're doing it. And I think it will resonate, because I think deep down, people are suffering and they want value. They don't want sound bites. They want to be able to have peace, to enjoy music, to enjoy life. And they feel that everywhere they look, everything is so binary and everything is I like, I don't like. But life is not like that. Just look at our relationships, our marriages, our friendships. We don't love everyone 100%. We see their bad sides and we see their good sides. And their nuances are always shades between black and white. There's so many colors. And we've lost that in this world. So it's either there is climate change or there isn't climate change. No, there's something there between, and we have to find where it is. It's not so simplistic. It's very easy for a politician to say there isn't something. Or it's very easy for a TikTok music critic to say, great pianist, bad pianist. What's the quality? Why? Well, she has millions of hits, the other doesn't have hits, therefore they're no good. That's false. And we have to say it. And I think the great musicians should create a channel where they unite together and they keep talking about these things, and then find that audience that resonates with. It's not going to be easy, because young people today, kids who are 10, 11, 12, they're already programmed into this binary world of like, dislike, and nothing between. So it's a very big process. And also, I would say, work hard in your communities, in your countries, with your elections. Make sure your education system is training children and teaching children to be critical thinkers and taking time. And if you don't have that in your education system, then you as parents have the responsibility to give your children that at home. They won't get it at school, but you can compensate for that at home. And that's the only way we're going to build a healthy society and a healthy musical world. And that's how I'd like to end on that point.
Thank you, Kevin, for a great contribution to this video. So if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. And where can people find you on social media? If they
that's a good question. I'm not active on social media for the reasons I just said, because I see its advantages, but I see more disadvantages. But if they want to contact me, I would ask if they can write to you, and I trust that you will forward me anything. But I'm very happy to advise people in careers, which I've done all my life. I've done it. And to help people also just cope with the situation, because I know it's not easy. And I feel so sad when I see really great musicians, super talents, who are suffering and depressed, rightly so. And I want to help those people. I just feel it's my obligation. It's what I can contribute to this world. If it's nothing more than psychologically getting them to understand it's not them and how they can find solutions. And I go back again, come together with like-minded people. There are far more of you, great musicians, who can come together and make something happen than there are charlatans and fakes that are out there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So if you want to be in touch with Kevin, please write a DM to me on Instagram or Facebook. And as always, you can also apply for a first free piano lesson if you want to learn how you can master the instrument and really pay attention to this process for a longer period of time, and also be in touch with us over this time. So thank you for watching, and see you again in the next video.
Thank you. Goodbye.